The stealthy and deadly attack submarine, every seaman's worst nightmare since World War I. These are the weapons navies fear the most, and despite investing billions of dollars into locating, tracking, and targeting these underwater assassins, the navies of the world are still largely at the mercy of these silent killers. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Infographics Show. Today, we're taking a look at the top 10 underwater killers in top 10 attack submarines in the world. Number 10. Oscar II class, Russia. Originally entering service in 1986, the Oscar II class are still Russia's most capable submarines. Designed to counter the threat of U.S. carrier battle groups, Oscar IIs were the pinnacle of modern Soviet engineering, and the surviving boats have received numerous upgrades. Out of a planned 19 subs, only 11 were ever completed due to cost and the collapse of the Soviet Union. Armed with 24 P-700 Granite supersonic anti-ship cruise missiles, these subs were a huge threat to surface vessels. A recent upgrade to one of the remaining Oscar IIs of P-800 Onyx missiles also gives them the ability to target coastal installations and are even more lethal versus surface vessels. To destroy enemy submarines, Oscar II subs are equipped with two 650mm and four 533mm torpedo tubes that can fire both torpedoes and anti-ship missiles. Further equipment includes nuclear warheads and nuclear depth charges against surface ships or submarines. Unfortunately, Oscar IIs are fairly noisy boats and must lay in wait for a target to get near them before launching a surprise attack for fear of detection. Also, most of Russia's remaining Oscar IIs are nearing the end of their service life and will soon be retired, with no replacement planned for Russia's submarine fleet. Number 9. Ohio class, USA. First entering service in 1981 as a nuclear ballistic missile submarine, the U.S.'s Ohio class has seen a number of its boats converted for anti-ship and land attack roles by replacing its nuclear armaments with Tomahawk cruise missiles. Though still the U.S. Navy's only nuclear ballistic missile submarine and over 30 years old, the Ohio remains a formidable threat that can silently loiter in remote areas of the world or near U.S. shores, while remaining in range of its assigned nuclear targets, thanks to its Trident II D5 nuclear missile's exceptional range. This makes an Ohio-class submarine virtually impossible to defend from, and the most survivable part of the U.S.'s nuclear triad. After the fall of the Soviet Union and several nuclear arms reduction treaties though, 4 of the Ohio-class's 18 boats have been refitted with cruise missiles and pack 154 Tomahawk cruise missiles, or as much firepower as an entire surface battle group. The U.S.'s new generation of ballistic missile submarines, the Columbia class, is currently under development and will enter service in 2031. Number 8. SORYU class, Japan. Not typically known for their endurance, the SORYU class is a diesel-powered submarine with an air-independent propulsion system that allows it to operate submerged for weeks rather than days as a traditional diesel-powered sub. Because nuclear submarines need coolant to be constantly pumped through their reactors, which generates noise, diesel-powered submarines can be far stealthier by running on diesel at the surface long enough to fully charge their onboard batteries, and then diving to operate for days on battery power alone. Japan's SORYU class uses a Swedish-designed air-independent propulsion system. However, that allows it to operate its diesel engines even while fully submerged, greatly increasing its endurance. Though smaller than most other attack submarines at only 285 feet in length, Japan's SORYU class's deft maneuverability allows them to operate extremely close to the shore and hug the bottom of shallow water, making them the perfect defenders of the island nation. Number 7. Akula class, Russia. The largest submarines ever built, the legendary Akula class were originally deployed in 1986 and took the West by complete surprise, with most Western observers not thinking the Soviet Union had the technical expertise to develop such an advanced submarine for at least another decade. At 367 feet, Russia's Akulas remain the largest submarines ever launched. The Akulas used commercially available Western tech in order to reduce noise levels on board, a move which led to restrictions on the sale and lease of certain submarine technologies amongst NATO nations. Equipped with both anti-ship missiles, torpedoes, and nuclear ballistic missiles, Akulas remain a formidable threat even if only 4 remain in service with the Russian Navy. Number 6. Improved Los Angeles class, USA. The most prolific submarine class in the world, The Los Angeles class of nuclear attack submarines have prowled the world's oceans since 1978. With over 40 hulls serving alongside SEAWOLF and the new Virginia-class subs, the U.S.'s fleet of Los Angeles-class submarines is a powerful deterrent to any would-be adversary. Initially outfoxed by a Soviet counterpart during initial Alpha 1 deployment, improvements to both propulsion and its tracking and targeting systems quickly saw the Los Angeles class overtake its Soviet counterparts, prompting the development of new Soviet submarine designs. Armed with Tomahawk land attack missiles, anti-ship missiles, and torpedoes, a Los Angeles-class submarine is an all-around threat and has undertaken missions ranging from anti-submarine patrols to strike missions against Iraqi ground targets in both Gulf Wars. Number 5. Sierra II class, Russia. Amongst the most expensive and deep diving of Russian submarines, the Sierra II class or Project 945A Condor class were the successor to the Sierra I class. With a double hull made of titanium, the Sierra II featured great noise reduction over its predecessor and increased resistance to torpedo attacks. Soviet titanium manufacturing and welding technology was far in advance of the West at the time of the Sierra II's production, but the material was far more expensive to work with and skyrocketed the cost of Sierra IIs just as the Soviet Union began to disintegrate. Replaced by the cheaper Akula class, they remain among one of the best-made Russian submarines and one of the best attack submarines ever deployed. Number 4. GRANEY class, Russia. The successor to the Akula-class submarines, the GRANEY or Project 855 Yasin class of subs is Russia's newest nuclear attack submarine. With the original of its class laid down in 1993, funding problems following the Soviet collapse led to a cancellation of further construction until 2003. The first of its class was finally delivered to the Russian Navy in 2013 and remains the only commissioned boat of its type in active service. In 2017, a second GRANEY was completed but is yet to officially join the Russian naval service. Armed with vertical launch tubes for anti-ship missiles and land attack cruise missiles, GRANEYs will be able to target both surface vessels such as American carrier groups and coastal targets. GRANEYs are also armed with torpedoes for both anti-sub and anti-ship attack, but can have their torpedoes replaced with mines. Though more advanced than the Akula, which it replaces, the GRANEY class is only slightly quieter than the Akula, highlighting Russia's difficulties in mastering underseas acoustic silencing technologies. To further compound the Russian Navy's problems, only 4 more ships of its type have been ordered, with no plans for more, severely limiting Russia's submarine capabilities. Number 3. ASTUTE class, Great Britain. With its vaunted Swiftsure class of nuclear-powered submarines nearing the end of their service lives, the ASTUTE class is both a much-needed replacement for the British Navy and a huge technological leap forward. ASTUTEs feature advanced data processing capabilities, combining brains with a considerable brawn in the form of a complement of 36 torpedoes or a mix of torpedoes and anti-ship harpoon missiles. In addition, ASTUTEs can be loaded with Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles for striking deep into enemy territory, and mines can replace its torpedo complement for mining operations in hostile or contested waters. 4 ASTUTEs are currently in service, with plans for a total force of 7 by 2024. Number 2. Virginia class, USA. The U.S. Navy's newest attack submarine, the Virginia class, is the replacement for the venerable Los Angeles class fleet currently in service. Designed as a smaller and cheaper alternative to the SEAWOLF class, the Virginia class is equipped for the realities of a new world order, where the threat of the full-scale war against the Soviet bloc is no longer a reality. A multi-mission platform, Virginias will be able to fulfill the traditional anti-shipping role of submarines, while also engaging in reconnaissance, land attack, and even special operations missions. It is the first U.S. submarine to employ a built-in Navy SEAL staging area that will allow a team of 9 Navy SEALs to enter and leave the submarine while still submerged. Virginias will also be capable of carrying a new nuclear variant of the Tomahawk cruise missile, allowing them to carry out nuclear deterrence missiles as well. With 14 currently in service and a further 16 on order, the Virginia class will ensure the U.S. Navy retains its underwater edge for decades to come. Number 1. SEAWOLF class, USA. In the mid-1980s, the US faced an erosion of its technological edge over the Soviets due to espionage and the trading of submarine silencing technology by various partners and allies. Determined to reclaim their underwater dominance, the US developed and launched the SEAWOLF class, the most advanced submarine ever built, described as 10 times quieter than the improved Los Angeles class and 70 times as quiet as the original Los Angeles class. A SEAWOLF can cruise at 20 knots and still be nearly impossible to locate, whereas most other subs must cruise no faster than 5 knots or give their positions away. It's said that a SEAWOLF cruising at 25 knots is still quieter than a Los Angeles-class sub tied up at its pier. Packing a whopping 8 torpedo tubes in a double-decked torpedo room, the SEAWOLF can engage multiple targets simultaneously, a reality that it would have likely faced in a real war against the Soviet bloc, as the SEAWOLF's price tag would have made large numbers of them impossible to field. At $33.6 billion, the SEAWOLF class made up 25% of the U.S. Navy's construction budget in 1991 and was the most expensive naval weapons program in history. Due to the high costs and the collapse of the Soviet Union, the SEAWOLF was eventually limited to just 3 in total. Despite its overwhelming underwater superiority, the New World Order simply didn't warrant the hefty price tag. Yet the 3 SEAWOLFs first entering service in 1997, 1998, and 2005 are projected to remain in service for years to come yet, still unmatched by anything in the ocean to include the US's new Virginia class. We've gotten a ton of comments throughout our videos telling us how much you love our breakdowns of the world's top military tech. But have you ever wondered what it would take to make your own? With over 24,000 online classes on topics like animation, voiceover, and even directing or acting, Skillshare has what you need to learn new things, or maybe just hone your existing skills and knowledge. Premium membership will give you unlimited access to topics that will improve your skills and in the process your life. The first 1,000 people to sign up by visiting the link in the description will receive 2 months of Skillshare absolutely free. Join Skillshare and start learning today. Which sub in our top 10 is really the best? Which nation has the best submarines in the world? Let us know in the comments. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more great content.